This is the Scary Movie Clubcast.
Live from the clubhouse, it's a Scary Movie Clubcast. This is Amanda.
And Nadie.
And tonight we watched The Haunting, the 1999 version, which definitely falls under the so bad it's good category.
Yes.
Laugh riot.
So bad.
Because it was so bad it was good, I'm going to give it 3 pairs of Savage Gucci kicks.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm giving it 3. They're not pairs of Savage kicks. Because again, it was like, it's bad, but because it's so bad, it's funny. It's not like a hard watch or anything.
No, it's very easy to watch.
Yeah.
And I mean, in all honesty, I feel like from the book to on-screen adaptions, I think Catherine Zeta-Jones knocks it out of the park when it comes to Theo.
Yeah, I mean, there were like maybe a tiny bit I'd change, but in general, yeah, I think she was very well. Yeah, it was pretty good. I also just love the actress who plays Nell in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Little conjuring mini scream queen.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, and today we're going to be talking about the novella by Henry James, The Turn of the Screw. I had to look to see if it was The Turn or if it was just Turn of the Screw.
It's just funny because you also had to look for his name.
Yeah, because I didn't remember it.
So it's just funny that you looked for both.
Well, because I only read one, and then I was like, oh, wait. Selective vision, okay?
We're just always prepared. It's like unreal.
Always professional. It's what we're known for.
We are. No, Pepper knows.
He knows. And we're doing it in honor of the newest season of The Haunting. It's going to be The Haunting of Bly Manor.
Yes.
It'll be based on this story. How loosely? Don't know. Will it be as loose as The Haunting of Hill House? Maybe. Maybe not.
Yeah. It's going to be real exciting, though. And when this comes out, it's like literally the day before, like the next day is when Bly Manor comes out. Yeah. So, guys, listen to this today, and then tomorrow, watch Bly Manor. Yeah. We certainly will be.
I mean, honestly, and the book is small enough that you could read it all before.
Oh, yeah, and the free audiobook's on YouTube if you want it.
So, to give you a little idea of what The Turn of the Screw is about, essentially, it starts out very weird because it's a retelling of a story.
Yeah,
and then they just forget that they retell that. Like, towards the end of the book, they forget that they're retelling a story, and we just finish with the story, and then that's the end. Yeah. Which bothered me so much.
That's obnoxious. That's kind of the way that they do it in Wuthering Heights. Except in Wuthering Heights, they like go back and forth a lot more. This one is like, it just starts out that way, and then totally drops it.
Yeah. And you're like, wait, what about this party we were at? This Christmas party?
It's over. They don't care.
So, they tell a story of a woman who chooses to be a governess. She gets this job at this big fancy house, and it's just going to be her, the kids, and then the servants. And then things get real creepy.
Yeah. The master of the house is like, don't contact me. That's your one stipulation. He's like, just handle it all yourself.
And he's hot. And you're like, no, but I want to talk to you all the time.
Yeah. You want to know how hot? In the movie, he's played by Colin Firth.
So, things are getting ooky spooky. And the kids are getting creepier and creepier as the story goes on. And you learn that the ghosts are people who formerly worked at the manor. The former governess and some creepy dude who used to be the valet. And it ends with another slap in the face. Uh-huh. But Nadine has some fun facts for us about Henry James.
Yeah, sure do. First off, in his older age, he kind of looks like Alfred Hitchcock a little bit. Like, they kind of look similar. I don't have a picture for it. You have to look it up on your own time. But when I, like, pulled up his Wikipedia page, I was like, you look a little bit like Alfred Hitchcock. So, just a fun fact from me. So, he went to law school at Harvard, but he didn't become a lawyer. He ended up dropping out.
He's like, writing's my passion. What am I doing?
Exactly. He's a Harvard man. He's also an Aries, which, do you know who he has this in common with? Being a Harvard man and an Aries?
Who? Conan?
Yeah, Conan! So he was a magazine writer at first who was popular in his day. Pretty rare for a lot of artists. He had a stutter originally, but when he learned to speak French, he didn't stutter in French.
That happens to Stuttering Bill Danbro in It.
Really? Oh, Henry James couldn't fight in the Civil War because of a back injury he had incurred while fighting a fire.
Oh.
I know, I found that to be random and funny.
I have questions about the fire now, but continue.
Yeah, there was no information about the fire. He was not big on happy endings. Like, if you read any of his other stuff.
Clearly.
Yeah, it's just not his style. You didn't think it was very interesting. His first novel was actually published in pieces in a magazine, and then later published as a book. He wrote almost 100 books over a 40-year span. He was born in New York, but he settled down in England and became a British citizen before he died.
Okay.
So he also wrote Portrait of a Lady, Wings of a Dove, Washington Square, which Washington Square I love so much. It's very good, and it has one of my favorite, like, film adaptations. The film adaptation is really good. But it also has a similar film adaptation to the one that I saw of The Turn of the Screw, where the people be interpreting things their own way and, like, not the way he wrote it, and just pretending, like, as if things are more ambiguous than he actually wrote them. Because a lot of what he wrote, he's pretty clear about. Like, he doesn't leave that much to guessing.
Yeah.
There's a whole section on his Wikipedia called Sexuality.
What?
You want to know what was in the section?
Yeah.
So, essentially, it's people with a huge debate as to whether or not he was celibate or closeted.
Oh.
And there's interesting things on both sides. So, it's like a tough call. I would probably lean towards the closeted. But, you know. But also, the two aren't mutually exclusive either.
Yeah, yeah.
But...
Man, were you telling me about a movie where that was the case? Or was I reading about a movie?
Or what happened?
It's like this couple gets together. It's like a man who says he's gay. But then he's like, but am I?
The Danish girl?
No.
Okay.
It was more contemporary. He starts, like, dating a woman. And then he's like, I can't remember if he decides they, like, have, like, awkward sex or something, or I swear you told me about this.
Oh, yes. Oh,
and then
man.
Like,
okay.
Maybe and he's, like, OCD or something.
It's so good. It's on Netflix, you guys. You should watch it. It's called Straight Up or Straighten Up or something like that. And it is very good. He doesn't marry her. He just, like, dates her for like quite a while, and he's honestly pretty happy in the relationship. He leans more towards the asexual side.
Yes,
but if anything, he'd be gay. But and then the end is kind of ambiguous in that one, where you're like, I mean, I think this is what you're saying, but you're not like flat out saying it. So it was good though. It was interesting. But so for Henry James, there are some letters that he wrote.
Ooh, steamy ones?
Yeah. Well, but sort of like up to interpretation, but also where you're like, I don't know.
When did he live? 18th century? 19th? Early 19th?
This letter was dated May 6th, 1904. One of the letters I'm going to talk about. Another one was 1899.
So it's like 1800 steamy.
Yeah. So there was this sculptor, this American sculptor named Henrik Christian Andersen. And he and James met in Rome when the sculptor was only 27 and James was like 56. But they became, close. And this is just one excerpt from one of the letters. He says, I hold you, dearest boy, in my innermost love, and count on your feeling me in every throb of your soul.
Gay!
But then...
That's gay love.
Well, but also, though, Henry, like, I read a lot of James's letters, and he just kind of writes somewhat like that to, like, everyone, like, to his girlfriends and stuff. I mean, not quite like that, but, that's kind of just how he speaks in a general sense. Like, all of his letters were very, like, upbeat, jokey, a lot better than a lot of the writing, personally. I was like, you should write more like this, more conversational. In a letter to his brother William, he referred to himself as Always you're hopelessly celibate, even though sexagenarian, Henry. It doesn't mean anything fun like it sounds like. It's just
Sexagenarian.
it's just a reference to someone being between 60 to 70 years old.
Oh,
But he
like
calls
a
himself
sex librarian.
Yeah, it's not. But he calls himself celibate. And so there's like a ton of argument over people being like, he was celibate, there's all this like clearness, or no, he was gay. And never really know. But
seems like he was just celibate because he was gay.
yeah, that's what I would think. But also, I just find it interesting that quite a few of his writings are from a female perspective.
Yeah,
So.
I thought that was interesting as well when I was reading it.
Yeah, it's just good though. Yeah, so that's the info I have on Henry James.
Interesting. Yeah, I did not appreciate the way he wrote. It was very confusing. I mean, sometimes you're reading and you're like, this is the ramblings of a madman. Because it's just like, you're putting too much words into these sentences.
Yeah, he's not nearly as concise as he really ought to be.
And I don't know if that was because he's trying to be like, well, I don't want to just write like I speak. I want it to be more literary, and then he was just trying too hard. But it does not work. Oh my gosh, it was so frustrating to read. And it is not long.
No, it's a really short book. I mean, I didn't personally find it to be that frustrating to read, but I just don't think it's like the best. Like for instance, Hill House, like The Haunting of Hill House is just so much better than this book.
Right, so what did you like about it? What we didn't like his writing style, but what in the book did you like best?
I also didn't really enjoy the way that it was written in first person narrative. Most of it, it's kind of like a very like childish way of writing a lot of times. I feel like the way it comes off, because there's so much like I and blah blah blah, and
Had.
it just wasn't great. I think what my favorite part would be. Did you have a favorite part?
I mean, for me, I think this like scary or creepy parts in general were like legitimately creepy. I'm just a very visual person, so I was like able, like, I got the picture. Like, I was just like, oh my gosh, like I can see that in movie form.
Yeah.
Like, and it was very creepy to me.
Yeah, and it is very descriptive. So like he does paint like a clear picture.
But I literally hated so much that he like starts off as like someone's telling a story of someone telling a story, and then all of a sudden we're just at the person who's the story is about telling the story.
Yeah.
And we never go back to that party.
Yeah, like I don't mind this if
No
you like switch between
reactions or
just dropping it completely.
yeah, it's like wait,
And
we had
also-
a party.
And also, I don't need the first part really. I mean, a
No.
little bit I do, because it gives you context on the governess, which you're gonna need later to know that she's not crazy like people are trying to make her out to be. Because she's gone on to live a normal, sane, stable life, because she's a
Yes.
sane, stable person who was in a ridiculous situation. But other than that, okay, so the part that I kind of liked, which honestly I really was not very into this book, it just didn't get me. I wasn't scared. I wasn't laughing very much. It just wasn't great. But I love that she is in love with the master of the house after having met with him like twice.
Yeah, and he's like not like nice. Like he must have been very handsome. Like very, very, very.
Yeah.
Because they hardly speak. He's like, don't ever contact me again. He's not even like, if the kids are dead, like maybe let me know. He's not even that. He's like, please never speak to me again. That is the last thing I want.
Yeah.
I don't want to be worried about this.
I'm not gonna see you guys over the holidays. Just live there, take the money, be away from me. But I just think it's like funny the way it shows this weird, crazy nature that some people seem to have, men and women, where they'll just fall in love with someone based on their looks and build up this like crazy relationship in their mind that's totally fictional.
Because it's just funny when she's like describing it at first, like how they're describing it at first about how she's like in love and stuff, and you're like, oh, like so like they had like a correspondence or anything. It's like no, just that one time, no contact after.
Yeah. And I mean, she, like, continues to feel that way for a long time, too. Like,
It's insane.
she doesn't want to reach out to him because she feels like she'd be letting him down or something, and it, like,
Who cares?
gives her all this pleasure to know that she's doing what he would want. Like a lunatic.
So desperate. I just...
Some people be crazy. That's how they be.
I mean, I can see the way after you'd been in the house, like, maybe it's just being in that house for so long and not being around so many people, you're just like, literally anything. That memory is all I have.
And apparently, I mean, he was real handsome.
Yeah, like, crazy gorgeous.
Like, if you met Alexander Skarsgård
Oh my gosh, I would die.
and then never saw him again. But, like, he wasn't who he was. He was just, you know, this guy. And then you were going to be his nanny. But he was going to be gone. And they aren't even his kids.
Could I even be that delusional for Alexander Skarsgård? I don't even know.
Maybe. There's a line in Persuasion that I really like where Anne is talking about, like, the difference between men and women, how sometimes it's harder for women, and this was during their time period, to get over things, and she's like, you guys have your work to preoccupy you, but women, we're in the house and our feelings prey upon us. And I was like, I could see that. And so I think when you're trapped somewhere, shout out to quarantine, shout out to 2020, it makes it a lot harder to get over certain feelings.
Mm-hmm. Least favorite parts?
So much.
All the run-on sentences that like I had to read and then reread because I was confused. And I was like, what are you saying? You're saying so much in this sentence.
Probably my least favorite parts are the fact that the master wasn't in it very much, because that would have made it more interesting to me. I always love a good, like, any type of love, anything going on.
Ooh, hey.
Exactly. And the fact that it doesn't pick back up with the guy in the beginning, because he had a crush on her. And so I'm like, what happened there?
Nothing, apparently. She just wanted to be more nanny.
But I mean, you guys got close. Like, close enough for her to tell you this story. She never told it to anyone else.
Oh, no.
We'll never know. Someday in heaven I'll find Henry James and be like, bro, you gotta learn to be concise, but let's talk about what happened with this boy.
Yeah, let me pull up the heavenly version of Turn of the Screw. Okay, let's review. I hate everything that's happening.
Just take a red pen. Be like, I'm gonna edit this for you.
And I need you to explain this and this.
Plot quality.
Oh, plot quality. Like my brains.
Oh, man.
If it had been written better, it'd be a better story. For sure. I mean, I definitely, like, the basic idea of this girl going and being isolated in this huge house with these strange children is very interesting. Like, and then it being haunted and you being like, I am seeing ghosts and these kids are gaslighting me.
Mm-hmm.
And because, like, the whole time I'm always wondering if, like, the maid she gets really close with is, like...
Her eyes are permanently sealed. She says it at one point.
Yeah, if she's just, like... If she can be trusted. Like, I just felt like, I was like, maybe I just don't trust people, but I was just like, should you be telling her this? Is she telling this to the kids? Does she talk to the ghosts?
Yeah, I didn't get any of that.
I was just getting very paranoid. Because, like, I don't know. Sometimes the lady would be like, oh, no, the kids are so sweet. Like, I love them. They're great. You're like, but they're so creepy.
Yeah, but they act so good all the time. Some people are not good at recognizing fake people.
I guess.
I don't like it. The moment I realize someone's fake, I never trust them again. And every sweet thing they do feels bitter to me. I don't want it. Yeah. Personally, I would probably, the plot quality, like, if I was ranking out of, like, great, good, okay, bad, and terrible, I would just say exactly okay. Like, nothing special, but not bad.
Yeah, I definitely would be more interesting to get more of the master in there, especially if he's going to be so handsome.
I know.
Please.
I got a little time.
Even if there's no, like, romantic aspect, getting his perspective, because, like,
Yeah.
it's his house. I mean, they're, like, his, like, adopted kids. He, like, hired these other servants previously.
Yeah. Or at least, like, a couple of letters from him or something. Would have been nice.
Pop him in one time.
Yeah. Scares.
I found some of the like peak scary parts to be very spooky to me. I think my favorite one was when she sees the valet ghost in the window.
Quint.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's like broad daylight too or something.
Yeah.
And she's like doing her thing. She looks up and then he's just like right there in the window and I'm like, he's so close. And it's like,
yeah.
so creepy.
I would agree. I didn't find that part to be scary in the book. Like, none of this book scared me or spooked me out. Mm-hmm. But I watched the film adaptation with Colin Firth and like other people whose names I don't know. And in the movie, when I watched that part, I was like, oh gosh. I was like, you are creepy. And you are so close.
Yeah. And then I think like the climax is pretty creepy too. Like when it's just her and the boy in the house. And then he's like in the window again. Mm-hmm. And it's like he's like trying to take the boy and she's like, you can't have him.
Yeah. Forces the confrontation finally.
Mm-hmm.
She also just thinks that she's so smart the whole time. Like everything she says, and that's a big plot fall, I feel like, in any first person narrative where the person like
lacks humility.
Yeah.
What parts do we think were funny? I mean, it's not a particularly funny book. I also found the part at the lake pretty creepy.
Oh,
where the
yeah.
ghost governess is like across the lake watching them and she's like, oh my gosh. And the little girl's just like, la 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 la. And you're like, oh.
Yeah. I know. It was creepy in the movie that I watched of it too. And it's not this way in the book, but in the movie, when the little girl goes to meet the governess ghost at the water.
Yeah, that part was like so crazy.
Well, but in the movie, they do it where like she confronts her and that's when the little girl like starts to hate her. Mm-hmm. But the little girl like turns around and like screams at her, shut up, you B word or something, and it's like, what? And they're being like, she possessed. But it was like shocking. When it happened. Definitely the most funny part for me was the part where she was like, it has only made me more lucid. My lucidity must have seemed awful. Yeah. I just thought that was so funny.
I know. I was like, stop.
I know. Which, lucid is already a joke for Amanda and I because we're forever making fun of Hereditary when the woman was like, I'm totally lucid.
You're totally insane.
Yeah, you have lost it all the way. Okay, do you think that Quint was a pedophile?
Yes, 110%.
Okay, vibe. Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was like, I mean, he doesn't like say it flat out, but
he's a pedophile.
Definitely
he
seems that
boys.
Way. Yes, and then was also sleeping with the governess.
Yeah,
the worst.
You know, he was faux show, a pedo.
Poor little boy, poor Miles.
Rough. No, this book just gave me. I mean, I don't think I thought anything was funny. It just gave me a lot of anxiety, the idea of just being stuck in this huge house. You just have, like, these two kids, and then the maid, and you hardly have any time to yourself. Ugh. My literal nightmare. So boring. So horrible. And now on top of it, the kids are gonna be creepy? Kill me!
Well, they seemed perfect at first. Like, literal perfect children.
I couldn't get over the descriptions of these kids. I was like, stop.
Yeah, that's weird. One thing that made me super mad is I listened to this one guy's review of this, and he was like, it deals with hysteria and madness. And I was like, you, sir, are a sexist.
Hysteria so much.
Well, yeah, hysteria is already basically
it's a
sexist.
Sexist word.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just the fact that you're calling this woman hysterical, who's just trying to save these children from this terrible thing that is in actuality happening.
She's like, look, I'm just trying to be a good babysitter.
Yeah.
There are ghosts here. They are malicious.
Exactly. Like, nowhere in the book does it make you think that these ghosts are not real. Like, it makes it very clear that she's describing people that she didn't even know existed. Like, she knew that the governess existed, but she didn't know that Quinn existed.
Yeah.
And a very specific description. Red curly hair.
Looks like an actor. That's the part that I thought was funny. I remember now.
There's your funny part. Looks like an actor. I've never seen one.
But that's what I would picture an actor looking like, you know?
Exactly.
Also, he doesn't, the description you read, you're like, that doesn't sound like any actor I know.
Yeah.
Sounds like a creepy redhead.
Which that's the other part too, that the that the movie that I watched did with it that was like not right is at the end they made it seem like as if, and I know that this is some people's interpretation of this and it makes me angry, they made it seem like as if she like squeezes the life out of the boy, and it is just flat out not written that way.
Yeah,
like you people are.
I had also read that because like I read the ending and I was like, wait, spoiler alert, boy dies.
Yeah.
And in her arms, and you're like, wait, like what? How? What? And I think they describe it as like his heart just giving out.
They say his heart was dispossessed.
So he has like no pulse, just like out of nowhere, and you're like, excuse me, what? And some people will take that as her squeezing him to death, and you're like, that's not what I said.
Yeah, no, he falls into her arms, and then after a moment, she realizes he's dead. Like,
yeah, he collapses first, and the fact that it's like that guy was like saying, "Oh, it's a book about hysteria." It's like the original tale of gaslighting. These kids are just straight up gaslighting her. The ghosts are gaslighting her because they're not appearing to the maid, but the maid's like, well, I believe you, I believe you, I believe you.
I know, sweet
So
baby
sweet.
angel.
Even though she hasn't seen anything. Even when they go to the water and she's like, she's right there.
Which just
right there.
makes it even harder to be like, it's hard for me to support you when like
And then
you just seem crazy right now.
And then she's like, but I believe you still. I mean, I didn't see it, but maybe I'm just dumb.
Well, I think it helped too that then she took Flora back that night, and Flora was saying crazy things, and she was like, "Oh, that's not the way this child would speak."
I don't like that. But yeah, it's just like so much gaslighting happens. She's not crazy. No. Everyone wants her to think she's crazy.
Yeah, and so the fact that people today now can read this story and interpret it that way, you're sexist. If you interpret it that way, you are a sexist douche. Yeah. Like, oh, it made me so angry. I almost left a comment. I was so angry with that. I was like, oh.
I'm not trying to comment and get in an argument on the internet.
Yeah, I'm like, who am I?
But I hope that's something we'll see in the show, is that it'll just be like a focus on the gaslighting aspect, and like you'll see it as like, this woman isn't crazy. People are trying to make her think she's crazy.
Also, just in case you guys were wondering, the meaning of a turn of a screw, which was like a classic phrase at that time, is an action that makes a bad situation worse, especially one that forces someone to do something.
It's just another turn of the screw.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's so ridiculous too that Miles is like, oh, you're gonna have to tell my uncle how you really dropped the ball with my schooling. Bruh, you got expelled.
Yeah,
and also, I can do whatever I want with you. Like, you have no idea.
Yeah, your uncle does not give a crap.
Yeah.
Like, and that would be so hard. It's like, the governess is like, oh great, now this other kid's getting dropped in my lap. And then you're like, how do I know what school to send him to? What's a good one? I gotta do this research. It's the 1800s. Who do I go to for this information?
You probably already know. Like, there's probably not that many schools. So, like, especially if you're a governess, you probably already know a lot of that information offhand.
I guess. Where am I going to get the address for a school to write to see if this kid can go there? How long is this going to take?
Months. Definitely months. Oh, man. I don't know. Being a governess would have been fun for me. There was actually a family that I nannied for, and they referred to me as, like, the governess of the kids.
Oh, that's another issue I had with Jane Eyre. Is like...
Oh, love Jane Eyre.
No adult time would drive me crazy. She's very, like, they have very little, like, other adults they get to interact with. Like, I mean, in Jane Eyre, there's more, like...
Well, yeah, because
she's... is, like, obsessed with her and is like, come talk to me every night.
Yeah, they're getting lots of time together.
Yeah,
Such a good book.
But in this one, it's like... Just one. What if she didn't get along with the maid? Would you imagine how unfortunate that would have been?
She was so worried about that on the drive up.
Like, maybe there's interesting people in the town. No. There's no one.
But you're not going to town.
Actually, they go downtown for church.
No, you just go to the church. They probably live on the land that has the parson. Like, it's like a 15-minute walk, I think they say somewhere in the book. Yeah.
But I mean,
so,
there's
like,
other people
it's a longer
there.
than a 15-minute walk to church or to town.
But at least there's other people there.
Yeah, at least there's other people there. I don't think those were the type of church services that where you were, like, communicating much. Just sitting and listening. Very lecture style.
The isolation would just drive me crazy.
Fair enough. I wouldn't mind it as long as I liked the kids and the people I was living with. She misses her family, though, and I feel for her for that.
Because it's not like pretty far away too from where she lives.
Mm-hmm. And she says that's like the only relief really that she and the kids have is when they're just like talking about her stories from her life before she came there, because it's like that's the only time when she like feels like no one's being fake. Feeling free. Poor things.
And what did he do to get expelled again?
Saying bad things to the other kids that he liked, and then
Oh, the bad words, yeah.
things that he probably learned while Quint was molesting him. Because these poor kids, it's not like their fault really that they're bad. They're half possessed, half very poorly influenced.
What would you rate this?
I don't like it.
I know you don't.
I would give it like, I don't even know, like a 1.4, 1.4 imagined romances between the governess and the master, the non-existent master who never ever wants to hear from her.
No, wants nothing to do with anyone. He's too busy. That's what they all say until they find the right one. Then they got all the time in the world.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. And if he married someone who just so happened to be interested in these warts he'd has, then suddenly he'd be like, "Oh, I'm like
we're
your
gonna move out to
stepfather."
this creepy Bly Manor. It's fine. I didn't enjoy the writing style, but I think it's a decent story, and I was creeped out. So I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5 imagined romances.
Good. I do like Henry James in general. I definitely rate the author different than I'd rate the book.
All right, so that's our review of Bly Manor. We're very excited for tomorrow.
Yes.
So, out of our minds.
Yeah, we're
The
all getting
excitement.
together to watch it.
I can't even wait to watch. Did I say the review of Bly Manor?
You did, yeah.
I meant the review
it was
of
close enough.
The Turn of the Screw. And we're very excited to watch Bly Manor.
Yep. Finally, Project Mayhem is happening.
Yes. If it doesn't fall apart. Regardless, I'm watching it. We're gonna be together at least.
Yeah. It shouldn't fall apart.
I don't trust these people.
I mean, you're not wrong to not trust them. It's not like you're crazy paranoia with Mrs. Gross.
No.
This is real paranoia. Or like real doubt.
Yes.
But it's going to be double Project Mayhem for Mackenzie and I too, because on Friday, she and I both took off work because I'm supposed to show her all of Hill House first, and then we're all going to watch Bly Manor.
I know. I want you to like record her reaction so badly. You need to live chat me the whole time at work. The whole time I'm at work. I need to know.
You'll just have your earbuds in.
I mean, you can text it to me.
Okay. I'll keep an eye out for like any good ones.
When you watched Midsummer.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. That was crazy.
It was fun for me.
That is fun though. And like Mackenzie and I did for Love is Blind. We're just like texting each other the whole time.
You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Scary Movie Clubcast and subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you next movie night, and don't forget, there are 23 days until Halloween.
Bye.
Bye.
Which also, just so you know, I did find one where we did things that were in pairs, but we did not rank based off pairs.
Well,
and
I
I
do
was
it
like,
based on pairs.
Ha. Man, you know what's weird? I cannot remember what I ranked the other one, even though we just did it. Like
I think you did 3.5.
Okay. I would never do a 0.5 because I don't like 5s.
Well, I don't know.
I would have either done 0.4 or 0.6.
I don't know what you did. I think it was point something.
Yeah, because it's just wild to me that I can't remember, because literally, guys, we were recording these back to back. Like, we just finished that recording and started this recording, and I'm like, who knows what I did in those days? Just in case you guys wanted to know some of the other things he wrote, he also...
Random piece of tape out of nowhere.
We've got an office ghost.
All right, live from... No.
Classic.
All right, so you can follow us on Facebook.
No, do it again where you aren't laughing, because we're going to cut the other part.